Harvin was not a soldier or a famous explorer. He was just a quiet technician who fixed machines and checked systems. He worked on the starship Unity, a ship from Earth that traveled to different planets for peaceful missions. Harvin liked machines more than people. Machines did not lie or argue. They either worked or they did not. Now Harvin was on Zerine 4, a grand alien world filled with silver towers and floating lights. The air smelled like spice, and the sky had 3 moons. This was his first time attending a diplomatic event. He had come only to fix a broken translator unit, but somehow he got caught in the crowd going to the Royal Hall. The hall was huge. Tall crystal pillars stood on both sides. Glowing with soft blue light, alien nobles in shining robes stood in perfect rows. At the front of the hall stood Queen Azera of the Zarini Empire. She was tall and graceful, with dark gold skin that shimmered like glass. Her eyes were sharp and glowing silver. She wore armor shaped like wings on her shoulders, and a long cape behind her moved even when there was no wind. Harvin stood at the back, trying to stay small. The translator on his ear worked slowly, picking up the alien words one by one. He did not understand everything, but he got the main idea. The Queen was welcoming the humans. Earth and Zerine were meeting for the first time, and this event was to show peace and friendship. A group of human leaders stood near the front. They bowed and gave a small greeting. Then came the gesture. Each human placed their hand to their chest and then opened their palm forward. It was something they had been taught during training. A simple greeting copied from Zarini customs. Harvin wanted to be polite too. Maybe if he joined in, he would not look out of place. So when the last diplomat made the gesture, Harvin copied it. But he did it slightly wrong. He raised both hands, then brought them together at the center of his chest and slowly opened them outward in a circle. It looked graceful and respectful to him. But the moment he did it, the room became silent. Very silent. The music stopped. The lights dimmed. Even the floating drones that recorded the event stopped moving. Harvin slowly looked around. Everyone was staring at him. Some nobles looked shocked. Others whispered in panic. The human ambassador took a step forward with wide eyes. Queen Azera stood still. Then she walked down the steps of her throne. The sound of her boots echoed in the hall. Harvin did not know what to do. He wanted to run, but his legs would not move. She stopped in front of him. "You have made the sacred bonding gesture," she said. Her voice was calm, but there was power in every word. Harvin blinked. What? The gesture is ancient," she said. "It is only performed by one who offers themselves as a life partner to the Queen, and I have accepted." The translator on Harvin's ear repeated the words slowly. He could not believe it. Life partner? Accepted? No, that could not be right. "I didn't mean to," he said quickly. "I was just being polite." But the nobles around the hall began to bow. The Queen looked at him again, not with anger, but with something softer, curiosity. "Interest. You must come with us," she said. "The ritual has begun." The human ambassador tried to speak. "Your Majesty, this is a mistake. Our technician is not trained in your customs." He meant no offense. "There is no offense." The Queen said, "Only a proposal. In my acceptance." Before anyone could argue more, Zarini guards in silver armor stepped forward. They gently guided Harvin out of the hall. The doors closed behind him with a deep sound, and the crowd began to talk again. Inside a smaller room, Harvin sat on a soft chair made of glowing vines. A servant gave him a drink that smelled like honey and fire. He did not touch it. A Zarini scholar entered, holding a long scroll. "You are now part of the royal trial of union," the scholar said. "You will spend 7 days in the presence of the Queen. To prove your worth, if both hearts agree by the end, the bond will be eternal. If not, you will be released with honor." Harvin felt dizzy. This was a mistake. A simple hand movement had turned into a royal promise. He was a technician, not a diplomat, not a warrior, and definitely not a prince. He looked out the window. In the sky, ships moved like silver birds, somewhere out there. His crewmates were probably laughing or panicking. He thought about saying no. He thought about asking to go home. But deep inside, another thought came. What if this mistake could become something more? What if this journey led to something greater than fixing machines? Harvin sighed. This was not how he imagined his day going. But for now, he had no choice. The ritual had begun. Harvin sat in the quiet room, his hands resting on his knees. The lights above him glowed like stars, slowly changing colors. The walls were smooth and warm to the touch. As if the room itself was alive, everything around him looked perfect. But Harvin felt lost. He was still trying to understand what had just happened. One wrong hand gesture, and now he was part of royal tradition. He had accidentally asked the queen to bond with him, and she had accepted. That could not be real. Maybe it was a dream, or maybe the translator was broken. He checked the small device in his ear. No, it was working fine. A soft sound broke the silence. The door opened, and a tall human figure stepped in. It was Envoy Delon, the head diplomat from Earth. Delon looked serious, his long coat swaying as he walked toward Harvin. "Are you all right?" Delon asked. Harvin stood up quickly. "I didn't mean to do it. I didn't know it was a bonding gesture. I was just trying to be polite." Delon nodded. "We know. But the Zarini don't see it that way. Their traditions are ancient and very strict. Once the queen accepts the gesture, it becomes official." "But I'm not a noble," Harvin said. "I'm not anyone special. I fix wires and broken doors." Delon gave a tired smile. "That may be true, but you are now the center of a political storm. The High Council has already met. They say if you refuse, it could be seen as an insult. It might break the peace talks between our worlds." Harvin sat back down, his head spinning. "So I have to go along with it?" Delon sighed. "They've offered a compromise. There is something called the trial period. 7 days. You spend time with the queen. Go through a few traditional tasks, and by the end, both of you decide if the bond is real or not. If you both say no, it ends peacefully." Harvin looked up. "And if I say yes? Then you become the queen's official mate, and the humans become permanent allies with the Zarini Empire." Harvin shook his head. "This is crazy. I don't even know her." "You will," Delon said. "You start tomorrow." That night, Harvin stayed in the guest quarters of the royal palace. The bed was soft. The room was quiet, and everything was perfect. But he could not sleep. He kept thinking about the queen. She had looked at him with calm eyes. She did not seem angry. In fact, she had accepted the gesture without hesitation. Why? The next morning, the Zarini guards came to escort him. They did not speak much, only nodded with respect. Harvin followed them through wide halls and glowing corridors. They stopped at a door made of clear crystal. It opened on its own inside. Queen Azera was standing near a window. She wore a flowing robe this time, less formal than before. Her long hair was tied with silver threads. She turned when Harvin entered. "Welcome," she said. "Come in." Harvin stepped inside slowly. He bowed awkwardly. "You don't need to bow," Azera said with a small smile. "You are not my servant. You are my chosen." Harvin rubbed the back of his neck. "That's the thing. I didn't mean to choose anything. It was a mistake." "I know," she said. Harvin looked at her, surprised. "You do?" "Yes," Azera said. "I watched you during the ceremony. You looked confused, not confident. You moved like someone who wanted to show respect, not make a life bond. I understood right away." "Then why did you accept it?" Harvin asked. Azera turned back to the window. "Because it was honest. Many come to me with practiced words and perfect actions, but they lie. They want power or fame. You offered something without even knowing it. It was real, and I was curious." Harvin didn't know what to say. He had not expected the queen to speak so simply. She sounded more like a person than a ruler. "So now what?" he asked. "We begin the trial," she said. "You will join me for 7 days. You will learn about my world. I will learn about yours. We will speak, eat, travel, and face challenges together. If by the end we are not matched in heart, we will part with peace." Harvin nodded slowly. "I can do that, I guess." Azera smiled. "Good. Then come with me. Your first lesson is today." They walked through the palace to a large garden filled with strange plants. Some glowed in the sunlight, Others moved slowly like animals. There were floating stones that sang when the wind touched them. Azera showed Harvin each one, telling stories of how the plants healed, protected, or told the future. Harvin listened carefully. He asked questions. He even touched one of the singing stones and made it hum a low note. Azera laughed softly. "You have a gentle mind," she said. "Not many notice the small things." Harvin smiled for the first time that day. By the end of the afternoon, he was tired but calmer. The queen was not what he had expected. She was strong, yes, but also thoughtful and patient. He started to wonder if these 7 days would really be so bad. As they walked back to the palace, Azera looked at him and said, "There's something about you, Harvin. You are not like others." Harvin looked up. "I'm just a technician." "Not anymore," she said. That night, Harvin stood by his window, looking up at the sky. He saw the moons of Zurian IV rising. They looked like silver coins floating in the dark. He had come here to fix a machine. Now he was in a royal trial to become the queen's bondmate. It made no sense, but somehow it also felt like something had started. Something big. The royal ship moved through the stars like a silver bird, smooth and quiet. Inside, Tom stood by a large window, looking down at the planet below. It was the homeworld of the Solari people. The surface was full of glowing rivers, tall crystal towers, and wide floating gardens. The light from the twin suns made everything shine like gold. Beside him stood Princess Lyri, now a grown woman and next in line to become queen. She had not changed her mind. She still wanted Tom by her side. Even now, she looked at him with the same steady eyes that once stared at him from a broken escape pod many years ago. "We'll be landing soon," Lyri said. Tom nodded. "And then what?" "Then," she said, "you meet my people." Tom gave a soft sigh. "I fix cargo ships. I've never stood before a royal crowd." Lyri smiled. "You don't need to impress anyone. You only need to be yourself." That sounded simple, but Tom wasn't sure. As the ship lowered, he could already see crowds gathering in the palace courtyard. Flags waved in the air. Flowers floated through the sky, released by small drones, a welcome for a returning princess and a stranger from another world. When the ship touched down, music began to play. The doors opened, and Lyri stepped out first. She wore a white robe lined with silver stars. Her hair moved like silk in the soft wind. The people cheered when they saw her. Tom followed. The sunlight felt warm, and the air smelled like sweet fruit. But all he could feel were hundreds of eyes watching him. Whispers moved through the crowd. "That's him, a human. He looks so plain." Tom kept his head up and stayed close to Lyri. She gave a small wave to the crowd, then led him toward the palace. The tall doors opened slowly, and they stepped inside. The palace was even grander than he had imagined. Long halls, glowing lights, and walls made of crystal and gold. It felt more like a dream than a real place. Lyri led him to a quiet room, with wide windows and soft chairs. "You did well," she said. Tom sat down with a breath. "They don't seem too happy to see me. They don't know you yet," Lyri said. "Many believe I should choose someone from our own world. A royal, a warrior, someone with power." Tom looked at his hands. "And I'm just a pilot." "You are the one who saw me as a person, not a princess," Lyri said. "That means more to me than any crown." Later that day, the palace held a private dinner. The royal council members sat around a long table. Each of them wore rich robes and serious faces. Tom sat beside Lyri, feeling out of place among them. An older counselor named Selvar spoke first. "Princess Lyri," he said, "you have returned with someone unusual." "He is not unusual to me," Lyri said calmly. "May I ask what his role will be in your court?" another asked. Lyri looked at Tom and then back at them. "I have asked him to stand beside me as my chosen. He has accepted." Soft gasps filled the room. Selvar folded his hands. "With respect, this decision is sudden. The people may not understand." "They will," Lyri said, "when they know the story." Tom cleared his throat. "I'm not here for power. I didn't come to rule anyone. I came because she asked. I helped her once. She never forgot." And now she wants peace between our worlds. I can help with that. Some counselors looked unsure. Others nodded slowly. After the dinner, Leary led Tom to the palace garden. The night was calm. The stars above twinkled like tiny lanterns. Floating lights moved among the flowers, making the whole place look magical. "Are you all right?" Leary asked. "I'm trying to be," Tom said. "They don't trust me. They trust what they know," she said. "But tomorrow, you'll speak to the people yourself. There's a festival in the city. It will be your first chance to meet them." Tom looked up at the stars. "What if I say the wrong thing? Then speak from your heart," she said. "That's what helped me survive when I was a child." Tom gave a small smile. "You still remember that day?" "I remember everything," Leary said. "How you gave me water, how you kept me warm, how you didn't ask questions or look afraid." "I was afraid," Tom admitted. "But you were just a kid, scared. I did what I hoped someone would do for me." Leary nodded. "And that's the kind of king I want." Tom froze. "You mean?" Leary looked at him with calm eyes. "Not today, not tomorrow. But if the trial days go well, if the people accept you, I will ask you to be more than my chosen. I will ask you to be my partner in life and rule." Tom looked away, thinking deeply. He had never dreamed of such a life, but now it was right in front of him. "I don't know if I can be a king," he said softly. "You don't need to know yet," she replied. "Just be the man you were in that moment long ago. That's more than enough." As they stood in the garden, the bells in the city began to ring. The festival had begun. Lights danced in the sky. Music echoed through the streets, and deep inside the palace, to hearts one human, one alien stood closer than ever before. The city was alive with light. It was the night of the Festival of Stars, one of the most loved events in the Solari Empire. Once every 5 years, people from all across the planet came together to celebrate peace, unity, and the bright path of the future. The sky was filled with floating lanterns, glowing ribbons, and soft music played by wind instruments. Food stalls lined the streets, and children ran through crowds holding star-shaped balloons. But this year, something was different. This year, the people were not just celebrating. They were waiting. Everyone had heard the news. The princess had returned, and she had brought someone with her, a human. Not a prince, not a warrior, just a man named Tom, who once helped her in a forgotten moment long ago. Some were curious, some were doubtful, some were excited, but all were watching. In the heart of the city stood the grand balcony, a tall white platform built into the front of the palace. It was where royals gave their messages to the people. On this night, lights circled around it, ready for the announcement. Tom stood behind the curtain, his hands cold. He wore a traditional Solari robe, simple but elegant, the color of soft blue sky. His hair had been brushed back, and his boots were polished. Still, he felt nervous. He looked at Princess Leary, who stood calmly beside him. "You're not scared?" he asked. "I've done this since I was a child," she replied. "But I understand your feeling. I was nervous once too." Tom gave a weak smile. "I've never spoken to a crowd this big." "Then speak to me," Leary said. "Forget the crowd. Just speak like you're talking to me." Tom nodded slowly. Outside, the music stopped. A soft chime rang across the city. The crowd quieted. It was time. Leary stepped forward first. The curtain pulled back, and the lights grew brighter. She stood at the front of the balcony, her silver robe shining under the starlight. The people cheered loudly. They waved, shouted her name, and threw flower petals into the air. Leary raised her hand. The crowd grew quiet again. "My people," she began, "I return to you with joy in my heart. I have traveled far and seen much, but nothing is more beautiful than the light of our own stars and the love of our people." The crowd clapped. "I bring with me someone very dear," she continued, "a friend, a protector, a man who once gave me kindness when I had nothing. I bring you Tom of Earth." The crowd looked up as Tom stepped forward slowly. He looked out at the sea of faces, thousands of them. Their eyes followed his every move. His heart beat fast. He cleared his throat and spoke. "Hello," he said simply. "I don't come from a royal house. I don't know your ways. I'm not trained to speak fancy words." Some people chuckled softly. "But I do know what it means to care," Tom went on. "Years ago, I found a little girl alone in space. She was scared, and she needed help. I gave her food. I gave her water. I sat beside her until help came." He paused. His voice became gentler. "I didn't know she was a princess. I only saw someone who needed kindness." The crowd listened. "Quietly now. Today, she is strong and wise. She's your leader. And she still remembers that small moment. It wasn't grand. It wasn't perfect. But it was honest." He looked at Leary. "She brought me here not because I wear armor or crowns, but because I once chose kindness, and maybe, in a world full of power and pride, that still means something." There was silence. Then, someone clapped, then another, and another. Soon the whole courtyard was full of applause. People stood and cheered. The music returned, louder and more joyful. Colorful lights shot into the sky and exploded like stars. The Festival of Stars had truly begun. Leary turned to Tom, her eyes shining. "Well done," she said. Tom let out a breath. "I thought I was going to fall over." "You stood like a mountain," she said. "The people saw your heart." Later that evening, the city square was filled with dancing and song. Tom and Leary walked through the streets together. People greeted them with smiles. Some offered fruit. Children waved small flags. One elder woman gave Tom a flower crown and said, "Thank you for reminding us what love looks like." Tom blushed, but smiled. He was beginning to feel less like a visitor and more like someone who belonged. As the night grew deeper, Leary led him to a quiet hill outside the city. From there, the view was perfect. Thousands of lanterns floated in the sky, lighting up the stars. The two sat on the grass, side by side. "Do you think they truly accepted me?" Tom asked. "I do," Leary said. "And more than that, I believe they understand." Tom looked up at the stars. "It's still hard to believe. One moment years ago led to this. Small moments can change lives," Leary said softly. "Sometimes they can even change empires." She looked at him with warmth in her eyes. "Thank you for coming with me, Tom. Thank you for remembering." He replied. The wind moved gently across the hill. The lights danced above them like tiny fireflies. And as the Festival of Stars came to its end, the bond between a human and an alien princess grew deeper, stronger than before. The palace was quiet in the early morning. Sunlight passed through the tall crystal windows, painting soft colors on the floor. The halls were still, but inside the royal meeting room, the royal council had already gathered. Princess Leary stood at the center, wearing a deep blue robe that shimmered like the ocean. Her face was calm, but her voice was strong. "I have chosen Tom," she said. "He is not from this world, but he carries the heart of peace. I want him to walk beside me." The council members looked at one another. Some nodded slowly, others looked uncertain. The elder counselor, Selvar, stood up. His voice was respectful but firm. "Your Highness," he said, "we do not question your heart, but our people follow old ways. For generations, royal partners must complete the 4 trials of unity before becoming part of the crown." Leary already knew this. She had expected it. "I understand," she said. "Tom will take the trials." There was silence in the room. Then, a quiet voice spoke from the side. "I'll do it." Everyone turned. Tom had entered the room a moment earlier. He wore simple clothes, but he stood tall. His eyes met Leary's, and he gave a small nod. "If this is what your people need," he said, "then I'll do my best." Selvar stepped forward and opened a scroll. The 4 trials test the mind, the hand, the heart, and the soul. They are not made to punish, but to reveal the truth. The trials would begin the next day. The first trial was called the Puzzle of Paths. It was held inside the Hall of Mirrors, a strange place with moving walls and hidden doors. The puzzle was simple in words: find your way to the center, but hard in practice. The hall shifted as you walked. Reflections fooled the eyes. Some turns led back to the start. Tom stood at the entrance, staring at his own face in the mirrored door. A voice called out behind him. It was Leary. "Trust your steps," she said. Don't rush. Tom smiled. I'll try not to get lost. Then he stepped and got inside. The air felt cool and quiet. The only sound was his own footsteps. At first, he moved carefully, marking each turn in his mind. He noticed small signs, tiny symbols on the floor, barely visible. Slowly, he followed them. When the walls shifted, he paused. He didn't fight the change. He waited, then walked again. After nearly an hour, he reached the center. A tall white crystal stood in the middle of the chamber, glowing softly. The mirrors vanished. The doors opened. Tom had passed the first trial. The second trial was the test of hands. This trial measured skill and focus. Tom was taken to a wide chamber filled with tools, wires, and broken machines. He was asked to fix a damaged energy source using only what was in front of him. No instructions. No help. Tom looked at the machine. It reminded him of his old ship. He smiled slightly and got to work. Hours passed. He worked slowly and carefully. His hands moved with memory, not guesswork. At last, the lights on the machine turned green. It was working again. The engineers who watched from the side gave respectful nods. Tom had passed the second trial. The third trial was the trial of heart. This one was not about puzzles or machines. It was about truth. Tom was taken to a quiet garden. There, an elder named Malin waited for him. You will sit here, Malin said, and answer my questions, but only if you choose to speak. Tom sat on the stone bench. Why do you want to stand beside the princess? Malin asked. Tom thought for a moment. I didn't plan for this, he said, but I care for her. Not because she's royal, but because she remembers what others forget. She's kind, she's strong, and she still sees people, not just their titles. Malin nodded. Do you love her? Tom looked at the sky. I don't know what love is in your world, he said, but I would follow her anywhere. I would face any storm for her. If that's love, then yes. Malin smiled. Then you have passed. Only one trial remained. The fourth was the trial of soul. No one truly knew how it worked. The person must enter a chamber alone. Inside, there were no lights, no voices, no sound, just silence. And in that silence, the soul was tested. Tom entered the chamber. The door closed behind him. At first, nothing happened. He sat on the floor, breathing slowly. Then, memories came. He saw his childhood, lost in a small village, his first space flight, his ship breaking down. The moment he found a young girl in a pod, the fear in her eyes, his choice to help her. Then, he saw doubt. What if he wasn't enough? What if the people never truly accepted him? What if he failed her? But then, another memory returned, Lyri's smile, her hand reaching for his, her trust. Tom opened his eyes. He stood up. He wasn't perfect, but he was honest. He didn't have power, but he had heart. The door opened. The queen was waiting on the other side. You passed, she said softly. Tom looked at her. I didn't do it for a crown. I know, she said. That's why you're ready. That night, the palace held a private ceremony. The council stood in a circle. At the center, Tom knelt before Lyri. She placed a silver band around his wrist. You walked through every trial, she said. Not as a prince, not as a soldier, but as yourself. She reached out her hand. Will you walk beside me not as a visitor, but as my chosen? Tom looked up. He smiled. Yes. Peace had returned to the city, and the people were talking about only one thing: the human who passed the royal trials. The stories spread quickly. Some called him brave. Others called him strange but loyal. All waited to see what would come. Next, Princess Lyri and Tom were seen walking together in the palace gardens, sharing quiet words and soft laughter. The guards who once watched him with suspicion now greeted him with respect. The people of the city nodded and smiled when they saw him pass by. But far above the skies, trouble was growing. A fleet of ships moved quietly through space. Their colors were black and red. Their engines were silent. These were not friendly visitors. They belonged to an old enemy, the Drexler Union, a group that once fought against the Solari Empire many years ago. The Drexler had heard the news. They had watched the broadcasts, and they were not pleased. A human in the palace, said the Drexler commander, watching the screen with cold eyes. They forget who destroyed their ships. They forget what war feels like. We will remind them. The commander gave the order. The fleet turned toward the Solari homeworld. Leary was in the Royal Observatory when the alert came. The Sky Guards had spotted unknown ships entering their space. Tom rushed into the chamber just as the generals arrived. Their faces were tense. A known fleet entering orbit, said General Vara. We believe it is the Drexler. Everyone grew quiet. Leary stepped forward. How many ships? 8 warships, the general replied, and 1 command vessel. Tom frowned. Why now? They fear change, Leary said. They see peace as weakness. They see your presence as a threat to the old ways. Tom looked at her. What can I do? Leary placed a hand on his shoulder. You've already shown your heart. Now, we show our strength. The palace turned into a command center. Screens lit up. Officers moved quickly through halls. The Solari defense system, once quiet, now came alive. Tom stood beside Leary as messages came in from orbit. The Drexler had not fired yet, but they sent a message to the palace. It was short and sharp. Surrender the human. He does not belong here. Or face destruction. Tom read the words slowly. They want me. Leary's eyes narrowed. They fear what you represent. I should go, Tom said. Maybe if I face them, they'll leave. No. Leary said quickly. This is not just about you. They want to break our spirit, but they will not. Tom looked around at the Solari leaders. What happens now? General Vara stepped forward. We prepare, but we also speak. We must try peace first. Leary nodded. Send a message to the Drexler. I will speak with their commander myself. The message was sent a few hours later. A reply came. The Drexler commander agreed to speak, but only in person. 1 ship, 1 landing. 1 meeting. It was dangerous. Everyone knew that. Still, Leary agreed. I will go, she said. Tom stepped forward. Then I'm going with you. The council objected, but Leary raised her hand. He is not just my guest. He is my chosen. He stands beside me. And so, the next morning, a small shuttle left the palace, heading toward the neutral space where the Drexler ship waited. Inside the Drexler command ship, the halls were dark and cold. The air smelled of metal and old war machines. Leary walked ahead, her steps calm and steady. Tom walked beside her. 2 guards followed behind, but they did not speak. They entered the chamber. The Drexler commander stood at the center, tall and sharp-eyed. His skin was pale, and his armor was lined with scars. So the little princess returns, he said, and brings her pet human. Leary did not flinch. Say what you wish, but we came in peace. The commander laughed. Peace, you bring. Weakness, you bring Earth blood into our space. That is not peace. That is surrender. Tom stepped forward. You're wrong. The commander raised an eyebrow. Am I? You see weakness because you don't understand hope, Tom said. You fight for fear. We live for trust. The commander's eyes narrowed. You think words will stop war? Leary took a slow breath. No. But words show who we are. And we are not afraid. The commander moved closer. Then hear this, he said. We will attack. Your shields cannot hold us forever. But give us the human now, and we will spare your cities. Tom looked at Ira. She looked back. No, she said. We do not trade lives. Not now. Not ever. The commander's face grew hard, then prepared to fall. Back at the palace, the people were watching the skies. Ships began to move. Lights flashed in the clouds above. The Drexler fleet had begun to charge their weapons, but the Solari were ready. Their own ships rose into the sky. Shields covered the cities. Defense towers lit up, aiming at the enemy. Tom stood beside Leary at the command post. This is really happening, he said. Yes, she replied. But we will not stand alone. At that moment, a signal came, and a fleet was approaching from another direction. It was not Drive X. It was a human ship, one of Earth's peacekeeper cruisers. They had seen the Drexler threat and came to help. The Earth ship sent a message. We stand with Solari. We protect one of our own. Tom's heart filled with pride. The Drexler fleet now faced two worlds united. For the first time, the enemy commander hesitated. The battle never came. Faced with strong defenses, Earth support, and a united people, the Drexler commander gave the order to pull back. One by one, their ships turned and left Solari space. The skies grew calm again. Inside the palace, cheers echoed through every hall. Lyri turned to Tom. They came for you, she said, and you stayed for us. Tom smiled. We stood together. The sky was bright again. The black ships of the Drexler had vanished beyond the stars. Peace returned to the land, and the people walked the streets with smiles and laughter. In the heart of the capital, the palace bells rang for a special reason. After many years, the royal court had called for a crowning ceremony. But this was no ordinary event. For the first time in Solari history, a human would stand beside the royal heir. Inside the palace, preparations moved quickly. Banners were raised across the towers. Musicians practiced in the courtyards. Workers polished the crystal floors and placed glowing flowers along the hallways. Princess Lyri stood before the tall mirror in her chamber. She wore a silver robe lined with soft light. Her crown rested on a cushion beside her, waiting to be placed on her head. Her expression was calm, but her eyes were full of thought. A soft knock came at the door. "Come in," she said. Tom stepped inside, wearing a robe of dark blue and silver. It was the ceremonial color of unity between two worlds. He paused when he saw her and smiled. "You look like a dream," he said. She looked at him through the mirror. "Are you ready?" He nodded. "Are you?" Lyri turned to him. "I've been ready since the day you saved me." Tom walked closer. "Back then, I didn't even know who you were. I just saw someone who needed help. And now," she asked, "now?" He said softly, "I see someone I would protect with my life. Not because of duty, but because I care." Lyri smiled. "Then let's do this together." The Grand Hall of Unity was filled with people from every region of the planet. Solari. Nobles stood beside engineers, scholars, farmers, and space pilots. Even Earth ambassadors had arrived. They watched with curiosity and respect. The royal drums began to play. The tall doors opened slowly. Princess Lyri entered. Walking with grace, behind her came Tom, steady and calm. The crowd grew silent. They walked to the center of the hall, where a circle of light glowed on the floor. There, the High Speaker of the Solari Council waited with the ceremonial crown and scroll. The High Speaker raised his voice. "Today, we witness the joining of two hearts, one born of Solari skies, the other from a distant star. They come not with weapons, but with peace. Not with orders, but with understanding. Let their bond be a sign of hope for all worlds." He turned to Lyri. "Do you, Princess Lyri, accept this path, not as duty, but as choice?" "I do," she said clearly. He turned to Tom. "Do you, Tom of Earth, walk this path by your own will, and with your whole heart?" "I do," Tom replied. The High Speaker lifted the crown. First, he placed it upon Lyri's head. Then, he handed her a silver ring formed from Solari crystal. She turned to Tom and placed it on his hand. "With this," she said, "I choose you." Tom smiled and placed his hand over hers. "And I choose you." The hall was quiet for one heartbeat. Then the bells rang. The people clapped and cheered. Music filled the space, bright and joyful. Tom and Lyri stood hand in hand, side by side. The human and the alien princess. Now partners. Now equals. Days passed. The news spread across both worlds. Earth and Solari leaders began talks to build new bridges between their planets. Trade grew. New learning centers were opened. Soldiers once trained for battle now trained for rescue and peace missions. Children on both worlds learned the story of the human who saved the lost girl in the stars, and how that girl became a queen who changed her world forever. Tom was not given a king's title, because Solari did not believe in giving power through names, but he was called Heartkeeper, a title of deep honor. It meant he was trusted to guide with wisdom and protect with love. He took this name with quiet pride. One evening, as the twin moons rose. Tom and Larry stood on the balcony of the palace below. Lights sparkled from the city. Music floated up from the streets as people danced in celebration of the season of peace. Larry leaned on the railing. "Do you ever miss Earth?" she asked. "Sometimes," Tom said. "The smell of rain, the taste of hot bread, the sound of ocean waves." She looked at him. "Would you like to visit again?" "I would," he said. "But only if you come with me." Larry smiled. "Then one day, we will, together." They watched the stars above, remembering the long journey they had taken to reach this moment, from a broken pod in deep space to a meeting on a battlefield. To trials, threats, and choices, and now to peace. Tom turned to her. "You once asked me if I remembered saving you." She nodded. "I do remember," he said. "But what I didn't know then was that you would save me too. You gave me a place to belong." Larry took his hand. "And you gave me the strength to change everything." Later that night, as the stars shone above, a quiet moment passed between them. A promise was made, not spoken aloud, but felt in their hearts. To stand together. To protect what they had built. To walk forward, no matter what shadows might rise again. Because this was not the end. It was the beginning.